Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BSB Show, episode number 3. Michael and I are going to be looking back at Oulton Park, round 2 of the Bennetts British Superbike Championship, and also looking ahead to Donington Park, round number 3. So round 2 was the first of 2 visits to Oulton Park this year in the championship. And Mr. B, you were there all weekend. The weather was dodgy.
Yeah, it was a little bit iffy. It wasn't great. I got caught out properly in the rain on Sunday afternoon, which I wasn't best pleased about. But it still made for good racing.
You were being chivalrous, weren't you?
I was being very nice to a customer because we give our coats across to the customers who were handing the trophies out. And I was being very generous in handing my coat out, and then about 35 seconds later it absolutely bounced it down with rain and I got wet through. So that's the last time I'll be giving anyone my coat to do the trophy prepresentation. Someone else can do that.
The man deserves a raise.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the BikeSocial sprint race, wasn't it, on the Sunday because of the bank holiday weekend, and that's where rain interrupted play, didn't it, on that one?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, literally on the last lap, I think, or the second to last lap. For me, it was a real good race. You know, you saw the two Ducatis and Leon as well as Josh fighting for the win. And I think it just proved how strong Josh was. I think more or less he led every single lap of that race. I think that just proved how strong he was in a shorter race form anyway. So yeah, I was very impressed with that.
We had 3 BMWs in the top 4. That hasn't happened for a long time.
No, it hasn't. No, and I was quite surprised at that. I was obviously quite surprised that the older BMW in what Leaon Haslam's running. It's not the 2023 M, it's the 2022. But to me shows how strong the package is in BSB with the Motec electronics. And I think if there was another couple of laps, I think you would have seen Hickey on the podium. I think he was a little bit unlucky to just miss out on that because he put in some real good strong pace.
It was very, very close at the end. Less than half a second for the first 3 guys. Yeah, Haslam's coming on strong, isn't he, this year? He's really found his mojo with that.
Yeah, I think just having his own team and the responsibility of it being him, and he's got a final say over everything. Really, there's not really anyone that's, I wouldn't say overruling him, but they're agreeing with what he's saying, and I think he's quite relishing the opportunity of running his own team and just all the emphasis being on him. So I am quite surprised at how strong he is so early on because he did have very little testing throughout the winter. His package came around very, very late. So I'm very surprised to see Leon up there, but it's nice to see him back up the front.
Yeah. Look, let's quickly touch on the 2 races on Monday, and then we've got the highlights package for you, so you can catch up with or have a little, look at what did happen. So on the Monday, we had 2 dry races, and again the Ducatis were up there. Bribel and Irwin. Irwin had a second place and a first place, didn't he, on the Monday? Yeah,
both PBM Ducatis were up there, and it's nice to see. I think we saw Paul Bird actually cry for the first time in a long, long time in Parc Fermé. I think it just shows how much it means to Paul and the team to come out of the bit of a rut that they've had for the last couple of years, and to be back winning races again, and especially at their home circuit as well. Oulton Park's probably about an hour and a half away from where they're based. We knew that Tommy was going to be strong. Obviously, his form at Oulton Park is kind of unrivaled, really. And for me, he's kind of now, alongside his teammate, he's the form man in the championship. A little bit surprised to see him finish off the podium in the last race on Sunday. I think he made a really bad start, and I think he was back to about 12th or 13th, which reminded me a little bit of Silverstone when he made such a bad start, but he came back through to win the race. And I just don't think he just didn't seem to have the pace to get past Kyle and also Leon and Glenn.
Yeah, speaking of starts, of course, we saw a very, very bad one for Peter Hickman, starting off pole, didn't he, in race 2, but a very, very good one for Andrew Irwin.
Yes, yeah, I was a bit. I think the second race on. Are you talking about the second race on Monday, or are you talking about race 2?
Race number 2,
the earlier
so
one.
yeah.
So the first one on Monday. Sorry. I think Pete, unfortunately, just got caught out literally at turn 1. And he said, he after the race, after the weekend, he said, I literally don't really know what happened. It's frustrating. But Andrew Irwin, again, another one that's had a real strong weekend. Quite surprising. He was in the battle. He was in the battle with Leon, I think, in race 2, I believe, and he just dropped out and finished 4th, I think, which was that was a real good, strong run from Andrew. But then in the second race, it's a little bit strange. I don't really know what's kind of going on with Honda at the minute. They seem really strong in some parts, but then in other times, they don't seem as strong. I know Andrew's running a slightly different swinging arm to what his teammate Tom is. So whether if that's making a bit of a difference, I don't know. So it'd be something that we'd have to ask the question of, I think.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And when we next see the teams, we will. He came out the blocks sharpest, didn't he? And he looked really, really strong and very quick and very aggressive, as we know Andrew Irwin does. But then he kind of faded away, didn't he? Everyone kind of caught and passed. So whether it's something to do with, I don't know, tyre life. I mean, we're kind of guessing here. In the same way that we could try and guess at what happened to Hickey. I mean, there is an awfully big bump on the inside of turn 1, and he took that tyre to line probably, in a hope to get away, but perhaps it just caught him out. Anyway, look, we can come back and we'll talk about the Oulton Park round in just a few minutes. But here's the highlights package so you can keep up to, or get back up to date with what happened.
Josh Brooks was on pole position for the first race of the weekend at Oulton Park, and the rain had cleared, so it was slick tyres all round. Storm Stacey had got up to second into turn 1, just behind Brooks, with Leaon Haslam up into third place. Jason O'Halloran was then challenged down into Cascades by Glenn Irwin, as Leaon Haslam made a lovely move on Stacey to move up into second place. Around Shell Oils, Peter Hickman had made some progress, Andy Irwin as well. Tommy Bridewell was pushing through from the 5th row of the grid. Glenn Irwin then made his move on Storm Stacey to move up into third place overall. Jason O'Halloran then made a pass on Stacey down into Lodge Corner, sitting up the tall rider on the number 79 and moving up into 4th place. And it wasn't long before Andy Irwin and Peter Hickman also moved up a couple of places, but there was drama for Jason O'Halloran around Cascades, unfortunately falling. Rider okay, bike a bit battered and bruised, and Jason O'Halloran will have to try and pick himself up, ready for action in the 2 races tomorrow. That left a bit of a gap back to the chasing pack. Danny Kent at this point had gone through on Storm Stacey, and the leading trio were getting away as Hickman and Andy Irwin tried to close that gap down. In a 12-minute sprint race, Tommy Bridewell from 15th on the grid had got through to 5th place, with Andy Irwin just behind, and Peter Hickman had clawed his way back up into contention. However, in the closing stages, the rain started to fall. We were told there was rain flags out as Brooks, Haslam and Irwin made their way around Shell Oil, and then the arms went up for all 4 out front. And the correct decision was made to bring out the red flags, and that meant another victory for Josh Brooks. 4 podiums out of 4, 2 wins to his name, the championship leader. Tommy Bridewell was on pole position for the British Superbike race, the second one to take place here at Oulton Park this weekend, but it was Hickman that took the whole shot, but not for long. His lead was short-lived, crashing at the opening corner after a tight entry meant the FHO Racing rider went straight down on the grass at turn 1, leaving Bridewell out front, and there was more drama to follow. Jason O'Halloran crashing on the approach to Cascades and taking Josh Owens with him. Some good moves early doors from Kyle Ride meant that he went up into second ahead of Andrew Irwin. Leaon Haslam was ever present, and yesterday's winner Josh Brooks, as well as Glenn Irwin, despite fighting an infection, managed to get himself up into the top 6. And Christian Idden looked like he'd made some positive bike changes as well, and was in the fight for the top 6 as well. Here comes number 91, Leaon Haslam, an audacious attempt at trying to take the lead of the race. He ran wide, allowing Andrew Irwin through, but then fought straight back again into turn 1 to reclaim second place. At this stage, Glenn Irwin, back in 4th, was 1.5 seconds down, but he soon reeled in the top 3 riders as the laps ticked down and made his move on his younger brother Andrew into Hizzies to move up into third place. And Leaon Haslam had a big moment whilst trying to hunt down Bridewell. Looking to make it the first Beer Monster 1-2 for a long, long time. Irwin then made his move count and stick on Leaon Haslam into Hizzies. But there was no catching Tommy Bridewell out front. He put in his fastest lap of the race with a few to go. There was a bit of fun for third place on the final lap into the last corner, but that one in the end went to Leaon Haslam, and it was a 1-2 for Paul Bird's boys. Tommy Bridewell victorious in race 2 here at Oulton Park. Glenn Irwin was on pole position for the final race of the weekend in British Superbikes, but it was his younger brother Andrew who came through from the second row to take the whole shot into turn 1 ahead of Glenn. And for the first couple of laps, Andrew and Glenn were 1 and 2, with Josh Brooks in third, until Leaon Haslam came through from 7th on the grid to move up into podium contention. Tommy Bridewell, despite a poor start, was coming through into the top 5, and Glenn made his move on his brother, going into P1 on his Beer Monster Ducati. Leaon Haslam then went past Andrew Irwin as well, keen not to let Irwin out of his sights. And soon, Tommy Bridewell would go through into third place to try and hunt down his teammate and Leaon Haslam in seconds. Kyle Ryde was having a good day. He managed to go through along with Josh Brooks on Andrew Irwin. He just started to fade and run out of grip in the latter stages. A brilliant race developed between Haslam and Irwin. Haslam certainly tried, but Glenn Irwin ultimately would always bite back. Glenn Irwin went up the inside of Tommy Bridewell. Josh Brooks and Kyle Ryde then joined the party. Irwin regained his lead, and in the background, Kyle Ryde also moved up into 4th place. But then Josh Brooks started to fade away a little. Kyle Ryde moved up into 3rd, and that was the crucial move that managed to get him the podium. Leaon Haslam tried everything but was not able to catch up to Glenn Irwin, even on the final lap. And as the checkered flag awaits, it was the win and the championship lead for number 2, Glenn Irwin on the Beer Monster Ducati from the Rocket BMW of Leaon Haslam and the OMG Yamaha of Kyle Ryde.
How about that? Well, you don't expect anything else, do you, from a BSB race than so many people fighting for podiums, fighting for points. And look, there were some good showings and some bad showings, really, at Oulton. Michael, let's start with those who perhaps could have done better. Jason O'Halloran's the obvious one.
Yes, unfortunately, I really feel for Jason. I think everybody builds him up at the start of the year, and I think unfortunately, he's just had a really tough couple of rounds. Really, Silverstone, he was fairly strong at Silverstone. I just unfortunate to miss out on the podium a couple of times. But Oulton Park, I felt really, really sorry for him. He came in as quickest in the test, and I think everybody was expecting him to be strong during the race weekend, and he was at points. Just unfortunately during the races, a couple of mistakes has just caught him out, and unfortunately he's according to this 7th in the championship, and he's 50 points behind. So he's at least 2 race worths of points behind now. Yeah,
2 crashes and a 10th, I think. Obviously the 3rd race meant that, so crashing the 2nd meant that he had to start way down near the back, didn't he? Yeah, real shame for him. Anyone else who we thought was going to do better at Oulton?
I expected Danny Kent to be a little bit stronger than what he was. Again, I'm not too sure as to why. He came
good
out
showing at Silverstone.
Yeah, he came out really fighting well at Silverstone, and then just unfortunately this weekend just didn't seem to click. I don't know what that was. I was probably half expecting Andrew Irwin to do a little bit better. Obviously, race 2 on Monday, he was really strong and he was close to a podium. Just unfortunate to miss out on it. I think literally on the last couple of laps, him and Leon had a really couple of close battles. So I was expecting him to do a little bit better, and probably Kyle Ryde. I was expecting Kyle to be a little bit stronger than what he was. I know he got a 3rd in the last race, and he was fairly close to the front. I think he finished 5th in the second race or the first race on Monday, second race. But yeah, I just expected him to be a little bit stronger.
And Lee Jackson, I think for me, having won there last year.
Yes, yeah, I think everybody.
Kawasaki's not kind of just where it was, is it?
Yeah, I don't think it's in that same window, and I think obviously we mentioned it in the last in the preview to Oulton Park that they are running the new KRT swing arm, or new to them anyway. That Johnny Ray and Alex Lowe's uses in World Superbike, so maybe that's the part to play in it. Not a lot of testing time with it because they received those parts really late. I believe there was a few different. There was a slightly different configuration of an engine, so that might have some part to play in it. But yeah, I was expecting Lee to do a lot better than what he did.
Good to see Dean Harrison putting a good performance as well.
Yes, yeah, mega. To be fair, really, really happy for Dean because he admits himself he wants to be a good short circuit racer, not just a road rider. So to see him within I think he was 7th after free practice, so that pushed him straight into Q2. That's the first time that's ever happened. And I spoke to him after the race, and he basically said that there's not been a lot of change. Slightly different engine. They are running that KRT swing arm, but they've had that a little bit longer, so they've done a bit more testing on that. He also mentioned that it was his crew chief. I think he said that tongue in cheek. But he just seems happier. He just seems really happy on the bike. And it was nice to see him have a smile on his face walking away from a short circuit after finishing. I think he finished 10th in one race, and he's now, where are we in the championship? He's 16th in the championship, so he's had a really good, couple of point scoring rides there. So yeah, hopefully now Dean can kick on after the Northwest when we come to Donington Park.
Talks fast, rides fast. And who else had a good weekend? We've talked about Leaon Haslam and obviously Glenn Irwin, second first. So
I think Glenn Irwin's probably the one, the hottest one after Oulton Park. To walk away with 3 podiums, literally third, second, first. And as well on Monday morning, he woke up really with a chest infection. He sounded awful. I was honestly surprised that he was racing because he was that fatigued. Like I say, I was very surprised to see him on the grid, but he pulled through. He came through to second in that first race on the Monday, and then to do what he did in race 3 on the Sunday, on the Monday. Sorry, I keep forgetting it was a bank holiday. So and to see that, at some points I thought, Leon's got the pace. Leon's gonna come past at some point, and towards the end of the race, Glenn just pulled away, and I was really, really surprised by that, but also impressed as well.
Yeah, good lad. Well, we caught up with him after the race. Strictly speaking, you caught up with him after the race, and here's what you had to say.
Glenn Irwin, welcome to Bennetts BikeSocial. Massive smile on your face, leaving here, should I say, championship leader. Sound nice?
Yeah, it's great. It would sound better if it was round 11, but I would keep our feet in the ground. I think what's nice is we've gained points on Josh and Tommy this weekend, because you can only ever look at who's in front of you, and that's all we ever do. Strong track for Ducati, strong track for Josh in the past, strong track for Tommy, for Leon. Yeah, the pace was fast, it was ferocious, but really pleases me in the manner that we won that. A little bit of a hiccup mid-race, some mistakes, some riding like a 10-year-old a bit. In the turn 1, Leon passed me, I tried to roll around him silly, and went down to third, and had to dig deep, had to really dig deep, had to pull some hard moves, keep it as clean as possible. And from that point, it was just really grateful to be back in the lead. I worked hard for it, a lot of inner belief this year. And I'm practicing. It's not just training this year. So much going on behind the scenes, and it makes this so worth it because I feel like we're on a journey, and this is just a part of it.
I mean, obviously, the people can hear how unwell you are. So to do what you've done this weekend, feeling as you are, must make it a little bit sweeter as well. Because some people could go into the shell and just go, I don't feel well this weekend, and make that as an excuse. But you've turned it into a bit of a positive.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and my motorhome, Nicky Coates, good friend, he finished third in the BMW Cup thing. It was amazing, so much positivity. Andrew had a great weekend, and this morning we all come in to do a little, we're working together, let's say, not give a secret's away. So we're all in 7:30, working in a way, that stuff that should help us. And I was like, lads, I'm not good here, but I'm not saying I'm not good till tonight, till the school run. When Laura wants me to do a school run in the morning, that's when I'm going to lie down and go, no, I'm not good. I need a day in Call of Duty and I need 3 hours in the sauna. And I was like, no matter how unwell I feel, my mind is going to keep me well. I don't feel good at all. I don't know how many paracetamols or briefing you're allowed, but stomach's not great. But yeah, the good thing is this didn't affect us at Oulton Park. It's not going to affect what's next. Obviously we're here to talk about BSB, but Northwest is obviously on the horizon. So hopefully a few days to get all this out of my system and go up there and have some fun and come back to Donington Park as championship leader, and as championship leader that wants to extend their championship lead.
You were just saying earlier on that you at the test and a few weeks you used a different engine, last year's engine. How much, and then obviously this weekend I believe you've used the 23 engine. So how much heading into the weekend did you feel a little bit maybe under pressure that you hadn't used a new engine here at the test?
No, I felt good because I knew what we achieved at the test wasn't going to be what is our limit for racing, because we know this bike is a step better this year. But it's not as easy as that. It's not just put the engine in. So we fiddled with the bike at the test, and yeah, as a team, like the team are amazing. Ryan, the crew chief, Chris in the electronics, Harley in the tyres, Harry, Hebo and Wazza and the spanners, hospitality, like everyone's amazing. Team owner, team manager, also passionate, Phil technically in the background. But we probably should have arrived here and put new engine in, like where we left Silverstone. We started and electronically it was horrendous. So this bike is like really good but terrible. I knew the engine character was an improvement, but it was so lost. Weather conditions meant that honestly the race one was my FP1. That's where we went back to Silverstone. So yeah, 3-2-1, 5-3-1 at round one. Seems to be a man of patterns at the minute. So yeah, it's been an amazing weekend. Really good.
Do you feel, obviously this weekend it's shown how much emotion has come out in your team? You know, Johnny Mount, the team manager, I've never seen him smile so much. I've never seen Paul Bird really cry. So for you guys, that must give you so much confidence knowing that there is so much belief in this project, because Paul was close to pulling out, you know, at the end of last year. So for that belief to be shown in you guys, it must be nice to repay those boys.
Yeah, you know, I completely understand that Paul doesn't need to do this. Paul's own son Frank is doing a really good job in car racing now and rallying. I think he's maybe, I don't know if he's better than Paul, but Paul was handy, and you know, it's so much money and so much time and brain thought, and then he's managing, like, you know, Jordan, Lexi, time with everyone. So the Bird family have a lot going on with their businesses. We know they're successful and they don't need to do this, but that's not a need. They want to be here, and to ride for a team that want to be here with the passion that they have. You know, Phil tries not to smile, and then after every race today, he's smiling. So it's just incredible. I love it.
How much confidence have you got now, not only in yourself but in the bike and in the package and everything, heading into Donington Park as championship leader?
Yeah, it's good. You know, it's the position I want to be in. In the bike, the good thing is we're not near the potential, because every time we try to make an improvement, we're doing that. We're doing the right thing. We make the improvement, but it's a wee bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul this weekend. So improve this, lose that. We'll find a balance. It will come. I know it's going to come as it comes every year. It came with my last year package. When it clicks, it clicks. Right now, has it clicked? No. That's a good thing. But I've clicked and gelled with the bike. I've clicked and gelled with the team. I'm sure if upgrades come from Ducati, I've read here in the past, I was Shaky Burns' teammate. You know, there is a budget. It's not unlimited. But when there's upgrades coming, Paul Bird will find a way to pay for them. I'm not putting him under any pressure, because I know he'll do it. The man's a legend. So yeah, let's just keep trusting the process, keep working hard behind the scenes, and keep smiling.
You look extremely happy. Do you feel, not back at home, because obviously at Honda you were part of the furniture, but people expected you to stay there, and you've come here shaking it up a little bit, and you seem really, really happy. Are you happy?
Yeah, no, I'm really happy. I practice it, you know, I manifest it daily. There's love and happiness in my family. You know, I wake up in the morning, like Freddie, get him ready for school. Phoebe still sleeps in our bed. She's 6 months. She is 18 months. She's smiling her face every morning. You know, and Laura's doing really well because she carries the burden of the kids. And it's just amazing. I have a great group of friends, the right friends. I have a great team, a great bike. I've had injuries in the past. I've done the right things it's all effort. Honestly, if you've seen my week, and from the 1st of January, what we do, and even this weekend, it's not just riding this bike. So many bits to my jigsaw. I choose it to be like that, but it's paying off. So I'm just enjoying life. I'm a motorbike rider. It's what, I'm a family man, but I always say it. This is my life, and when all the bits of jigsaw around that come together, bit in the middle is always easy bit to find, and it's good.
Well, Glenn, we better leave you to it because you've got a flight to catch.
I forgot about that.
Just want to say congratulations from everyone at Bennetts and good luck at round 3.
Thanks, and thanks for bringing Bennetts to this championship. Appreciate it.
So there we have it, Glenn Irwin, a very confident young man, and with a 4-point lead in the championship as well already. And of course, he doesn't have the TT, does he, to think about this year?
No TT. Obviously, Northwest is running that. I saw a nice little tweet from him yesterday saying, I think Ducati had delivered some engines to one of their sponsors over in Northern Ireland, and he just put cheers Alvaro. So I think he's throwing a little bit of shade out there for his competitors. We all know that Glenn was, would have been strong at the Northwest. We're recording this before the Northwest due to a few holidays and other things. So congratulations, Glenn. Well done on your victories. Or congratulations to everybody else who's won, because we don't know who's won. So,
all right, let's move on. Now, last time out, we spoke to Franco Bourne, didn't we, in Stock 1000 Championship? A young man with a big future, certainly, and he ran very well at Oulton Park again, which is fantastic for him. We're going to dive into a feature here with a young chap called Dr. Stephen Smith. Tell me more about him. He's not from the Isle of Man, is he? He raced at the Manx.
Yes. So basically, Dr. Stephen Smith. For anyone who doesn't know, Stephen Smith won the Manx Grand Prix last year on the Isle of Man after the TT. Basically, he's got quite an interesting story. So he is a head of nutrition or chief nutritionist. You'll soon find out. I can't remember exactly his job title. Red Bull. So he now lives in Austria. He did live in Liverpool. He was from Liverpool. He now lives in Austria. Literally uprooted his family 2 days before he started the job at Red Bull. Moved his family out to Austria, and he now lives there full time. Works with the likes of Marc Marquez, Brad Binder, Paul Espargaro, Jack Miller, and other MotoGP riders, alongside Formula One drivers, alongside powerboat racers. Basically, anybody that Red Bull sponsor, he's basically their head nutritionalist. So,
and he's racing a Honda Fireblade in the Stock 1000 Championship as well.
Yes.
Let's see what he's got to say.
Stephen Smith, welcome to Bennetts BikeSocial. Thanks for joining us. Just for the people that aren't aware of who you are, just introduce yourself, what you do at BSB, and also what you do for a day job.
Yeah, so obviously my name's Stephen Smith. Back over at BSB Superstock Thou this year. Last year Manx Grand Prix senior winner, stepping up to the TT this year with the TC racing team. So really excited about that. Basically I live out in Austria. I'm originally from Liverpool, but moved out to Austria a couple of years ago to start a job with Red Bull, taking care of the athletes there. So from different sports, MotoGP, and a little bit of Formula One, but everything downhill, mountain bike, and everything in between, really.
So we'll come on to your job a little bit later. But so you just mentioned there that obviously back in BSB this year in Superstock, your first round at Oulton Park this weekend of the season. How have you found it? Has it been a bit of a baptism of fire, or have you really sort of enjoyed being back in this paddock?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed being back in the paddock. I mean, the BSB paddock is just, it's the place to be, isn't it? It's always full on. But it was good because I haven't really had a lot of time on the bike and not a lot of dry time. So to get a dry session in the morning was pretty good, and unfortunately we had the mixed conditions in the afternoon, but then qualifying went well. Qualified the best position that I've done in BSB Superstock, so that was P30, so I was really happy with that. Really glad to be back, and we've got this one other event and then we're off to the TT.
Sort of talk us through it, because obviously it's a big step for you moving into this paddock. Really difficult as well, considering that you don't live in the UK.
Yeah.
So just how much of a bit of a big job has it been for you over the winter and the last couple of weeks? Following you on social media, it has been a bit of a big job. So just talk us through sort of the pressures that you're under, but sort of how rewarding it is when you're here.
Yeah, it's been massive to try and coordinate everything. I mean, even just getting the bike built, I was really lucky that Alistair Cowan was, available, and obviously he put the bike underneath me for the Manx Grand Prix, and we're actually running his colours, as a bit of a thank you. So, Alistair helped me out with the bike, but then I've had to kind of piece it all together with, different people. I've been really lucky that Andy from Wiz Norton has been around. So, Andy and Richard from Wiz Norton, I've got to say a massive thank you to them guys. But then even like the couple of lads here who've come this weekend, and it's been difficult. Because obviously what I've got to try and do is move the bike around the country to the different races, but I'm still out in Austria, and then it's like trying to get back to the UK, and then it sounds kind of easy, but it's not, because Salzburg, where I live, is it's the worst airport in terms of getting back to the UK. There's just no sort of direct flights that work, so it's kind of juggling what time to get back. Okay, I can get to the UK, but then how do I get actually to the racetrack? So I think I can write a book about European airports after this year, but it's been a bit of a challenge, but at the end of the day, these are the things that you do for the racing.
So let's talk about your job. So obviously it's quite an interesting role, shall we say, and you work with some really interesting people. So just on a day-to-day basis, what exactly do you do at Red Bull, and then really, who do you look after? So names that people on this channel are desperate to hear about.
Yeah, I mean, so like my sort of role there is like as a performance nutritionist, so I can help the athletes get faster, put on muscle, lose a little bit of weight. And I mean, like I said before, all the different types of athletes, they come and see us, and they'll speak to the different specialists who I work with. And if you imagine like one of the world's best sports science centres, we've got some really good physios, mental performance guys, endurance, biomechanics, and obviously I head up the nutrition side of things there. And yeah, the athletes come and see us, and then we give them some advice around the different fitness and nutrition plans. But it is cool because obviously I get to work with the KTM guys, which are absolutely doing really well this year. I see everything from that team, and those guys put the effort in. But yeah, basically, everybody with a Red Bull helmet on, I can sort of get in touch and work with them. So like I said, the KTM guys, even a bit with Marquez, which is amazing. But yeah, everything in between.
So I think most people are going to say who's the most, or want to know who's the most famous person in the phone book, and who do you really kind of, if you sort of got a bit of an idea that I'll need a bit of help in some way, shape or form, whether if it's set up or just a bit of rider coaching or whatever, who's the one that you turn to in your phone to go, can you just give us a bit of a hand, would you mind?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think the most famous person in the phone book is Mark, which is always it's sort of always a bit of a shock, when you sat there and your phone goes and you see that it's Marquez, and you think, this is amazing, and the good thing about my job is I get excited about it all the time, because we can see who's coming the week after. And then obviously when I see any of the motorsport guys, I mean, even everything from the rally and speedway, because I'm just a massive motorsport fan, I get super excited to see those guys. But in terms of like, a bit of advice and things like that, it's not really something I ask them, because we've got to try and keep that sort of professional relationship with. I mean, when the guys are there and when you're there at the track, you can kind of ask them a little bit like, how do you use the back brake, and what do you do this in this sort of thing. But obviously the bikes are just so different. Like what they do on the MotoGP bikes is just completely different. But I mean, it's just nice to be able to talk bikes with them.
Are they interested in what you do? Do they know what you do outside of work? Do they ask you about the TT and the Manx and stuff like that?
Yeah, it kind of filters down. I mean, obviously just through general conversations and then social media and these sorts of things. But they do find out that we race on the roads and the Isle of Man, and generally they do take a massive interest in it. Some a little bit more than others. Some want you to sit down and maybe talk through an onboard lap and get really interested in it, and then others just think that you're a bit mad. But they do sort of keep an eye and ask on how it's going, which is really nice, and but yeah, they do think you're a little bit mad for doing it. But like I said, some of them have got a bit of an interest, and I think if the opportunity was there to go and do a bit of a lap, they'd take you up on it.
I think you mentioned to me last year at the Manx that Danilo Petrucci was really interested in coming over and helping you. Is he going to be coming over for the TT?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, he's over with World Superbike now, and I don't think he's under that Red Bull umbrella anymore. But he was interested in coming and having a little look, but I don't think that's going to happen.
And ultimately, at the end of this year, what would you like from yourself? Because obviously, TT this year, first time proper at the TT. Yeah. Obviously, Manx Grand Prix winner last year. What are you expecting? What are you hoping for? Have you set any goals? Have you set any targets? Or are you just going to go out there and literally just enjoy the opportunity of riding around the TT course?
100%. Yeah. I mean, obviously, stepping up to the TT it's a big step. It's a bit like going from the Manx Grand Prix is, it's still very professional, but it's more of a, let's say, an amateur style event. And it's a little bit like, say, going from high-level club racing to the British Superbike. So really, I'm just looking forward to getting out there on the big bike, taking a new step and a new chapter and learning, from the fast boys, and seeing what it's really about. I mean, I've been trying to get to the TT for a long time now, and that was always the goal. That was the reason why I started racing. So I'm just looking forward to getting out there, hopefully having a good, safe TT. Not really setting any targets in terms of lap times and things. It's more just about having fun, gelling with the team, and just enjoy riding the best track in the world.
Finally then, what's the goals for BSB? Because you just said there off camera that you want to do a couple more before the season finishes. Mm-hmm. Have you got any sort of targets in mind after pre-TT or post-TT, or is it again just going out there and just enjoying yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy BSB, and it would be great to be able to do more, but up until the TT everything's just preparation for that. But I think coming here as a rider, it really brings you on. Being in arguably the best sort of domestic championship in the world, and the Superstock class is always super competitive. So it's to try and do as much of that as possible, and try and bring myself on as a short circuit rider, and then have that transfer over to the road. So I mean, for me, the plan is to do the TT. Then maybe come back in July for, I think it's Snetterton, is it? Yeah. August, we're planning on doing the Manx Grand Prix. I would have loved to have gone and done Cadwell, but it's just a bit too close to the Manx. And then I think, maybe September and October, come back for the finishing of BSB. It'd be great to come and do the Brands Hatch and see the final. But we'll see.
Fantastic. Well, Steve, thanks very much for your time, and good luck for 2023.
They are good to hear from Dr. Smith. He's another man you should be looking out for in the Stock 1000 Championship this year. Give him a wave, give him a cheer. Now, Donington Park, round 3, we're running on the Grand Prix circuit, aren't we?
Yep. Before
the National Circuit, which is around later on. A swap from last year's calendar, I believe.
Yes, that's right. So the National Circuit was the third round of the Championship, and the GP Circuit was in the showdown. Now it's swapped over. It's the GP Circuit, then the National Circuit.
Got you.
Don't ask me why. Not a clue.
There we are, all your first-class journalism from BikeSocial. Anyway, let's just catch up on what happened last year, so 2022. Here we go.
Jason O'Halloran was on pole position for the first British Superbike race of Donington Park, the penultimate round of the championship, and O'Halloran got off to a brilliant start, but Tom Sykes it was that managed to fish his way past Kyle Ryde to take the lead on the approach to Hollywood, with the championship leader Bradley Ray in third. Andy Irwin got up alongside Jason O'Halloran, pushing the Australian back into fifth, and Peter Hickman was there at the start as well. Liam Delves went grass tracking through Craners, and lucky here to escape serious injury. Hopefully everything okay for the Rapid CDH Kawasaki rider. A few riders going wide down into the Melbourne Loop. Bradley Ray pushed his way up into third place. Further back, Tommy Bridewell and Lee Jackson trying to fish their way into the top 6, as Brad Ray moved back up into second. A nice move from O'Halloran on Hickman down into the Melbourne Loop, pushed him back up into fourth, and all this while Tom Sykes continued to build his lead out front. Andy Irwin had a big moment on the approach to turn 1, almost clattering into the back of Kyle Ryde, who then managed to go through and try and challenge Glenn Irwin. The pair of them side by side. Lee Jackson went through on Tommy Bridewell. These guys at this particular time 7th and 8th overall, and Jackson then managed to go through on Kyle Ryde himself as well on his FS3 Kawasaki. A mechanical forced Andy Irwin to retire. Not too happy about the situation either, having been in the top 5 earlier on. And in the closing stages, Tom Sykes looked like he was home and dry. O'Halloran pinched second place from Bradley Ray. And Peter Hickman also wanted in on the action as we got up towards the last lap. The checkered flag was waiting for Tom Sykes, but it was all eyes on this battle for third. Bradley Ray not quite getting Goddard's right as they tipped in, going wide and allowing Peter Hickman through. But it was a sublime performance from Tom Sykes. His best result before today was a 6th at Oulton last week, and he went on to take his first win of the season and the first win for the MCE PBN Ducati team all year long. Peter Hickman on the FHO Racing BMW was on pole position for race 2 of the weekend here at Donington Park, but as the lights went out, Brad Ray, the championship leader, immediately challenged him and took the whole shot into turn 1 ahead of Andy Irwin, but there was drama for Leaon Haslam, who crashed into Redgate Corner. Tom Sykes managed to get himself out front, looking to add to his victory that he picked up here yesterday, the first of the season. There was a big crash for Tom Neve, his third in the last 4 races. Exiting into the pit lane as well for Josh Owens as he retired with a mechanical. A good battle going on as well between the Irwin boys, Glenn and Andy. There was a big moment for Storm Stacey as he went straight on at Goddard's and ending his chances of scoring points in race 2. Glenn and Andy continue to go at it. Glenn on the Honda here and the BMW of Andy with Peter Hickman in close pursuit as well. And just behind them, Tommy Bridewell. At this particular moment, Hickey had managed to get through on the Cinetic BMW. Jack Kennedy, unfortunately, had to retire out of the race, and Tommy Bridewell then picked up a few, going past Lee Jackson, Andy Irwin and Peter Hickman. Just a bit further up the road, Glenn Irwin had got himself into a fairly comfortable 3rd place. Tommy Bridewell then went wide down into the Melbourne Loop as he looked to try and pick up as many points as possible. And Jason O'Halloran as well made a lunge into the last corner on Peter Hickman, the pair of them touching as they made their way onto the start-finish straight. But there was no stopping the grinner. Tom Sykes, he made it 2 out of 2, winning here at Donington with a race to go. Bradley Ray, an important 20 points in second. Race 3 of the weekend at Donington Park saw Tom Sykes start from pole as he was looking for his first treble in BSB. As the lights went out, all 3 on the front row got a good start. Brad Ray chasing down Sykes, but it was the grinner who got into turn 1 in P1. A great start also from a few rows back from Glenn Irwin as he went round the outside. Jason O'Halloran went underneath Tom Sykes in the early stages, but Brad Ray then went back through on O'Halloran as they hunted down Tom Sykes with Glenn Irwin and Andy Irwin in hot pursuit. A lovely move from Brad Ray and meant he went to take the lead of the race. And Glenn Irwin followed, going through on the number 66. These 3 managed to peel away from the rest of the pack as Tom Sykes made another move on Glenn into the hairpin. Irwin challenged Sykes once more with a beautiful move around Starkeys and was closing on the leader. It was big drama though as Jason O'Halloran tagged the back of Tom Sykes, barrel rolling through the gravel and having to be stretchered away. That would end Sykes' chances. Glenn Irwin was leading, but Brad Ray was challenging, and the 2 Cinetic BMWs were just behind as well in Andy Irwin and Danny Buchan. And Tommy Bridewell was making great progress as well. But a big moment for Glenn Irwin as he made his way through Foggy S's, snapping his right foot peg on the exit right here. And ordinarily you would think that would be the end of anyone's race, but he kept on plugging away. He struggled through the Melbourne Loop just after that happened. Brad Ray and his brother Andy Irwin going through on him. And Tommy Bridewell had a bit of a nibble late on as well. But Glenn Irwin fought on despite not having that foot peg. And in the closing stages managed to hold on to a heroic 3rd place. It was 2nd for his brother Andy. But Brad Ray continues his absolute romp of the season. His 9th win of the championship and 66-point lead going into the final round at Brad's.
So, Mr. B, we are heading quickly towards Donington Park. A beautiful, wonderful circuit. I think that anyone who rides any form of track days will agree that it's probably the best in the country to ride on. But who's going to be good round there. We've seen lots of different winners, haven't we, on lots of different types of bikes over the years.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting one this weekend, I think. It all obviously depends on the weather, whether if it's red hot or whether if it's not. Obviously, I expect Glenn to be strong on the Ducati. I expect Tommy to be strong on the Ducati. Tommy's won around there a few times previously. I expect Kyle Ryde to be strong there as well. It's quite a flowing circuit, so it suits the Yamaha quite nicely. Jason O'Halloran, I fully expect him to be coming out fighting after the weekend that he had at Oulton Park, and again suits the style of the Yamaha and the way he rides.
Yeah, sure. And we've had Honda wins, haven't we? Before Brad Ray won last year. We've had, of course, the only wins that Ducati had last year were with Tom Sykes on board, so we know it works around there.
Yeah, I think everybody expected Tom Sykes to win round there. He's Mr. Donington Park, as well as somebody else that we'll mention later on. But he was literally Mr. Donington Park, and Tom was nowhere in the championship last year until you got to the Grand Prix circuit, and lo and behold, there he is at the front, winning 2 races, and unfortunately was taken out in the last race. So.
Good. All right. Leaon Haslam, of course, being the other one who knows that place like the back of his hand.
Yep. Yeah, literally, Leon knows that place. I think everybody knows why. Obviously, his dad had the race school there. He's run so many laps around that circuit as well. And coming into the weekend with the form that he's showing, and the way that his BMW is performing at the moment, just seems happier. Just seems stronger on the bike. Just seems stronger racing. Just generally seems a happier person. I can imagine that you're going to see Leon really fighting for wins this weekend.
All right. Well, look, let's. There's no one better than, is there, to guide us around a lap of the Donington Park circuit. So here is Leon commentating over the top of Jason O'Halloran's pole position lap from last year.
So this is Donington Park, my local circuit. Coming on start and finish here. Through the gears, third, fourth. Red gate, you've got to stay off the pit lane, back to second. You've actually really got to hold this tight so it really opens up. Always a lot of crowd here on the left hand side. Top of Hollywood, got to watch for this big bump on the inside. Crane of Kerr's a famous one, a lot of crashes here on change direction, especially when it's cold. Down into the old airpin, back to second gear again. The short shift out of here, had a really big crash here in 2022. It's flat out in third, fourth gear, up through the gears. Just clipping this inside curb up into McLean's, a real good passing opportunity. Again, a lot of crowd come to this point. Short shift out of here, second to third. Heavy braking over a blind crest. Again, this leads you onto a big straight. A lot of crowd here gathered with the grandstands on the left side. Under the old Dunlop Bridge, which is no longer there. Big wheelie as it crests over this point. A really good passing opportunity. Get a lot of crowd gathering here on the exit of this chicane. You run the inside and the left side curb, a lot of action. Short shift in your gear down to Melbourne Loop. Again, last lap, you're kind of setting up a pass for these 3 corners. Down into first gear for the Melbourne Loop. Again, get a lot of paddock crowd just here on your left, as you can see. Short shift your gear, second, third, trying to keep the front wheel down. Back to first gear, last lap opportunity. Always a bit of carnage here in this last corner off camber. A little short burst coming out of here. And that's a lap of Donington Park.
Well, if you've got a favourite place to watch at Donington Park, put it in the comments below and let everybody else know. At Donington Park, we've got these rookies this year. A lot's been talked about them already. They've put in a decent showing so far. And who could do well there? Who are we expecting to run well at Donington? Who is it going to suit?
Out of the rookies, I suppose Tim Neve's probably the one that is going to suit the most. It suits the Yamaha strong. Tim's probably doing the best out of the rookies at the moment, really. I mean, if you look at the championship points at the moment, it is technically Charlie Nesbitt who is ahead, but looking at that, he's ahead by 2 points. So it's not a lot, really. So I expect Tim to be running quite strong at the front. Again, I expect Charlie to be running strong at the front. You know, he did really well there last year on a Suzuki. Really impressed. I think he finished near enough in the top 10 in his first weekend on a superbike. I expect a little bit more from Davey Todd. We did see a little bit from him at Oulton Park, really battling quite hard with Tom Neve in a couple of races. So I expect Davey to be running a little bit stronger.
He could have had a few more points, couldn't he, until that last corner, the last lap?
Yeah. I think, but he's not a rookie. However, I didn't mention him earlier on in the hot at Oulton Park. But Storm Stacey, Storm was on the front row, qualified on the front row at Oulton Park, and I think he's going to bring that sort of confidence back into this weekend. I know he was testing, as of when we're filming this, he was testing yesterday at Donington Park, and I don't know whether if he's doing the No Limits endurance racing with his teammate Joe Francis before. I would imagine he will be doing it, hence why he's there. So I imagine Storm to be running quite well, but like I say, he isn't a rookie, but he's young enough anyway.
I do know who's going to have a great time at Donington Park. The BikeSocial customers, of course. What can they expect? So we've got all these rewards to give away, haven't we? With and for people to win with being a BikeSocial member, you can come and take part on the so you get grid access, pillion ride, safety car laps. What am I missing?
So all of those things that you just mentioned there, they're all pre-allocated from the winners from the competition.
Hospitality.
Hospitality, forgetting that's the most important one. So the people that have entered those competitions, you should have had your emails as of now. They should have landed in your email box. So before the weekend, you'll know exactly what you're doing. If you're not one of those lucky winners, you can still come and see us. So we're going to have a garage at Donington Park like we've done previously. So it's always the last garage before the toilet block at Donington Park. That's just how I know it.
It's next to the cafe.
Where the podium is, so there's a gap between the toilet block and the garages. Where the podium is, we're literally that first garage there.
Yeah.
I can't remember what garage. 37 maybe. Is it 37?
Well, the cafe is called Garage 39 or something like that.
Well,
so
there we are.
You'll
Whatever
find
number
us.
it is, you'll see us.
And we're both going to be there.
Yeah. So basically, if you come, we'll have the pit perch, so you can stand literally on pit wall and watch a session or even watch a race as well. But please get there early. They do come. They are basically allocated on a first come first served basis.
Yeah. Per session.
Yeah, per session. So I'm not going to sell myself short here because I don't want to be getting there early. But if you get there for about 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, the garage should be open.
Yes.
One of the guys, either myself, Man, or one of the Bennetts team will be in there to help you. You can literally get yourself signed up and stand on pit wall and watch a session or a race. And we also have the priority pit walk on the Sunday as well. Yeah. So any BikeSocial member, all you have to do is just show us your membership number or your policy number if you're an insurance customer. Just show us that and we will get you on the pit walk 10 minutes early before everybody else on Sunday. So you get priority before every other BSB fan. So you can run straight up to your favourite rider and get their signature before he's mobbed by everybody else.
And of course, as a BikeSocial member, you get free coffee.
Yes, that is one perk. And
you get to see us, and you can come and have take the weight off and sit down in the pit garage. It's a lovely place to be. So do come and say hello. Good. Anything else to add about Donington?
I don't think so. Other than myself and Man will be there, so you can question Man about everything, and you can leave me alone. So leave me to do my job. But no, just come and say hello. We're always friendly. We're always happy to chat about bikes and racing. We will have a bit of a cafe set up, like Man's just mentioned there. So if you do want to take the weight off your feet for a couple of minutes, you can do. And we'll have a little inlet out into pit lane as well, right underneath the podium. So you'll be able to watch the podium presentation, be able to watch the riders, the winners pull into Parc Fermé, and everything. So it's a really cool place to be.
Might even get sprayed with some fizzy pop as well.
Possibly.
If you're not yet a BikeSocial member, head to bikesocial.co.uk/join. It is free for those that insure their bikes directly with Bennetts. Otherwise, it's £6 a month or £60 a year, and there are hundreds of rewards and discounts and competitions and offers fit for everybody, really. Good. We'll be back ahead of round 4, which is Knock Hill. That's after the Isle of Man TT. And thank you for joining us. Any comments, queries, questions or advice on how we can make this better, let us know. And we'll see you next time.